Are my judges ready? Yes. Jim Rohn once said, "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments." Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dalton Thompson, and I believe that bridges are helpful structures that can allow quick travel from place to place. However, the arch bridge is better than other bridges because the arch can allow more weight, is sturdier, and can travel further distances than the other bridges. And my goal for my project was to build a literal bridge. And in order to do this, I had to be disciplined about my work because of the challenges I faced and the time I had. One of the reasons I decided to build a bridge was because my family needed a new bridge for the creek bed for when it floods. The old bridge we had was all old and it couldn't hold weight and it would break a lot. I also wanted to make something that other people could use even when I leave and I go to college and go on my own life. They can use it and they can remember me by it. I wanted to build something with my own hands that I could have admire, that I worked on, and not on computers that's just internet. With the amount of bridges there are in the world, people think they collapse all the time, but however, this is not the case. Bridge collapses are very rare and do not happen for how old many bridges are and how many there are in the world. Bridges have been around forever. Stone bridges that were made years ago before we were able to use steel and concrete still withstand up to this day, and people use them many times. And more often than not, bridges need to be repaired because something can happen to support beams or one of the cables. Something happens, they have to be repaired. This can take anywhere from about a week to almost 2 months if it's a serious repair. And it's better than a collapse because if a bridge collapses, it takes many months and a lot of money to clean up and replace the bridge. The type of bridge I decide where it goes is depending on the environment. If it's a bridge that has to go over a canyon or a river, then it has to be different than a bridge that's gonna just go around a mountain or over soft land that people travel over. A bridge has to be able to survive natural disasters if it's in an area that has many natural disasters. Like a column bridge is built in high seismic areas because the columns can support against an earthquake and they will not collapse like if a cable bridge was there. However, a cable bridge is better for areas with high wind because the cables can allow for the bridge to sway a little bit but not give too much, and it cuts down the amount of pressure that the winds will have on the bridge. In the future, bridges had to be safer and more durable because the population of the world is increasing and people are traveling more. And the technology we have in order to build bridges is increasing. We can precast concrete now for columns and it's cheaper and safer. We can use stronger steel and we can map out like places that will have earthquakes. We can see if they're gonna have a high seismic other than other areas. Bridges also need to be able to connect new places. Places that don't have a lot of tourism or places that just aren't on the map and people don't know about because there's no way to get to them or they have to go a long detour route in order to get there. What is that? Bridges are important because they can improve relationships between cities. Like the Brooklyn Bridge improved the relationships between Brooklyn and Manhattan. The bridge went over the Brooklyn River and connected these two areas. These areas used to not get along because they had two very different cultures. And the gang violence there was horrible and they just couldn't get along because everything that happened. But the bridge allowed for this because people could get along more, they could travel more, and the cultures eventually ended up mixing together and the gang violence and everything went down, which led to an increased population because people go in there, they weren't afraid for their lives or their families' lives because they won't have to worry about getting in the middle of a gang war or anything. It also improved the economy because there's more tourism, that means there's more people there buying stuff and just looking around and going over the bridge because not many bridges go over big rivers that can connect rival cities. For my product, I built a arch bridge that went into my grandparents' creek bed. The bridge was 12 feet long and 4 foot wide and had about a 6 to 7 inch gap arch. How it was built. In order to build a bridge, I had to use a bunch of cinder blocks to put in the middle of the bridge and use people to help weigh down the sides to bow it. Enough where once I released it and all the stress went, it would still have an arch in it, not just go straight to being straight. And it was tough to screw the boards because we had to bow multiple boards at once in order to screw them together. And the boards we did not have a lot of people, so it took a lot of work in order to keep them down and straight in order to screw them and not then pop up and just the screws pop up and not hold together. Challenges. The challenges I faced was early on in the year, my original mentor, an unexpected occurrence happened and he was not able to be my mentor anymore, and I was not able to use any of the materials I needed to use in the shop building. And then the price. Originally, I thought my bridge would cost about $100 to $120. However, with the amount of boards I had to buy and the things that happened with the board splitting and everything, I had to buy many more, and it cost me over $200 in order to build. And I had a late start. With my mentor disappearing, I had to wait until we had a new shop teacher that we could use all the tools that I needed to use. So I was not able to start on my bridge until late January, and by the time that happened, I had very little time in order to build my bridge before the deadline. And as Jim Ross said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. In order to get my bridge done, I had to be disciplined because I couldn't procrastinate like I usually do with many of my projects. I had to work hard every day with the time that I was given in order to get it done, because I had less than 2 months in order to get it done. Thank you. Any questions?
What's the most important thing you learned during this process?
To not procrastinate about anything, because if you think something's solid and you're gonna have it, it can disappear just like that with no warning or anything. Yes.
With this type of a project, do you have an interest in engineering?
I have a small interest in engineering. It's been something that's interested me for a couple of years, and I wanted to see how building a bridge worked and how I liked it.
And your plans for college, your area of study, are you going to incorporate maybe some of the engineering in it, or?
I'm not quite. I'm stuck between engineering or going into like computer science.
Very good. Yeah. Both good careers.
Any more questions?
What was the hardest part of the project?
The hardest part was probably bowing the boards, because it took a lot of people in order to keep them bowed and not pop up and keep them both at the same angle. Because you had to make the separate side, we had to make two sides, and making them both the same arch and angle. Took a lot of work and retries.
But did you build it here at the school and then take it out to your grandparents?
Were they pretty happy with it? I bet they were excited.
They were pretty happy with the new bridge that wasn't falling apart.
Yeah.
But did you have an interest in bridges before? I mean, I know you kind of did your project for your grandparents, but was it something that kind of piqued your interest before that?
Bridges by themselves, not really. I mean, bridges used to creep me out as a kid, because my mom always said to cover your head when going over them, like going under them. So they've been something I haven't really cared a lot about. But I've been told to go into engineering multiple times by many people, and I'd like to see how it worked and work on something with my own hands. And
I was interested to see if maybe with the floods and stuff, with Hammond's Bridge, I didn't know if you were able to see any of that, before and after when they were working on it.
Yeah.